I started reading when I was just a kid. I needed something to feed my mind, and I had all the suffering, and I didn't have a way to escape. Books were my escape. That's why I love books so much. It's like I could learn from somebody from another century. I could learn by another person's life experience. And then I started to do some speaking and touching people that way. But honestly, it's never been motivation for me. It's always been strategy, because motivation without strategy is like a warm bath. You know, you should take a bath or you're going to be dirty regularly. You need inspiration, but it's strategy too. But I know you're never going to hear the strategy unless we can move you. I mean, I do a weekend that's 50 hours. So Oprah comes and says, Tony, I love you to death, but no one sits for more than 3 hours. I can't do it. And 12 hours later, she's standing in her chair, looking at the camera going, this is one of the greatest experiences of my life. Or Usher, comes to me and says, Tony, I can't do 50 hours, dude. I just can't. 50 hours later, he's like, I laughed my ass off. This is one of the most incredible experiences of my life. So I've learned a way to refine the process to move people so that they act. If you just get pumped up, what good does it have? So this book is all these specific strategies. Here's what to do. Here's what Ray Dalio says, largest hedge fund on earth. I say to him, don't inspire me. Tell me, if your kids couldn't get any of your money, not on a dime, and you were going to show them what to do, what would you show them? What would you tell them? He said, Tony, I've spent 10 years of my life refining this process. All my money's in it. It's called my all-weather strategy, because it works. The stock market goes up or down. And he said, I've tested it back to 1925. It makes money 85% of the time. So he tells me the strategy is quite complex. And when you show it to the average financial person, they go, oh, that'll never work, because they're not Ray Dalio. They haven't figured out $160 billion to manage. It takes $5 billion 10 years ago net worth and $100 million for him to talk to you. Now he won't do that for any amount of money. But he spent 3 hours with me. At the end, he shows me this formula. I said, you know what? This is great, but you showed me how to make a chocolate cake. It's very inspiring. You said use some chocolate, use some sugar, but I need the actual numbers, or no one's going to be able to act on this. They're never going to figure this out on their own. And he said, Tony, that's my secret sauce. So that's how I get billions of dollars. I said, yeah, but you've not taken money in 10 years. I said, you're a generous man. You've given, half of your net worth you're going to give away? Give me the formula. Give it to me. Let's tease it. He gave it to me. It's in the book. It's one of the formulas. And when you test it, over the last 75 years, it's been successful 85% of the time, year by year. And the times it's lost, it only lost 1.6% on average. The biggest loss was less than 4% in a world where the markets go up 50% down.
This book's going to make people money.
It'll make people money. The beautiful part of it is they don't have to pick Ray. They can decide who they want to follow, because I give you the strategies of all the best people.
The energy. Do you ever lose your energy? Do you ever get down?
Well, sure. I get exhausted. I get mad. I get tired. I'm a human being, but it's like an athlete. You built your muscle, so it's there for you. It doesn't last. What used to last when I was a kid, a month might last me a few minutes or an hour, something of that nature.
Don't ask for it to change out there. Ask for you to change here. Don't ask for a more favorable wind. We call that naive. Don't ask for better seed, better soil. This is the only planet you got. Just ask that you can get wiser and stronger and better, and be able to take care of your own responsibilities. Get better. Learn how to handle the seasons better. Let's go through them. Just get better at handling the winters. You can't change the winter. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. You say, well, what can I do about the upcoming winters of my life? The challenges that I know I'm going to face. Here's what you can do. You can get wiser and stronger and better. Just make a list of that trio of words. Wiser, stronger. Go home smarter than you came. Go home with more ideas than you came with. Next, get stronger. You can develop the muscle. You can develop the courage muscle. You can develop the inspiration muscle. You can develop the dedication muscle. You can get stronger. There isn't anybody here that can't get stronger. Next time we see you, may not even recognize you. How strong you're going to be able to become in language, in style, and personality, the ability to cope, the ability to handle with anything that happens, no matter what happens. And the third one is get better. We can all get better. I've gotten better. First talk I gave, I stood up, my mind sat back down. But here's the secret to my success. I stood up and did it again. I stood up and I did it again. And I did it again, and I did it again all those many years ago. I did it when I was scared, and I did it when I didn't want to, and I did it when I was ill. And I did it when it didn't work well, and I did it when they didn't appreciate it, and I didn't a lot of times when I didn't know much what I was doing. I just did it anyway. And now, all these years later, I'm asked to walk on this stage with the greatest introduction I've ever had, greatest response and welcome I've ever had, the greatest opportunity I've ever had to touch this many lives with a mixture of words and heart and soul. I got better. I got better day by day and week by week and month by month, and I'm asking you to do the same thing until you can develop a long arm and a long reach until you can develop influence that won't quit. Touch people next year you couldn't touch this year. Touch people now you couldn't touch before. Conduct a meeting now you couldn't conduct before. Heart and soul now mixed in there that wasn't there, missing before. I'm asking all of you to get better in spite of the winters, in spite of the downturn. The money downturn, the social downturn, the personal downturn, whatever it is. Just get stronger. Get better. The key is not to wish for a better winter. The key is to wish for more strength, more wisdom, more courage, get better, get wiser, get stronger.
So, if you own your failure, you'll own your success. So what is personal growth? You know, I think about entrepreneurship. Some of us are in this to do social good and make money. Some of us are into this for political causes and make money. Some of us are just here to make money. But we all have different motivations. So we all define growth differently. Sometimes it's social to me, it could be personal, it could be financial, could be a bigger house, a bigger car. Whatever it is, we all define it differently. But what is common about growth? If you do tomorrow what you did today, you will get tomorrow what you got today. Benjamin Franklin. That is the definition of not growing, isn't it? If you do tomorrow what you did today, you didn't grow, did you? Then you get tomorrow what you got today. You didn't grow, did you? So, there it is. If you do it the same tomorrow, there's no growth. If you attain the same result tomorrow, there's no growth. So how do we get better? Every day, every hour. How do we find those resources? How do we find the energy, the knowledge to do that? That's what I want to talk about. So I want to change your mindset. Insanity, you've seen this before, is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. You know, years ago, I used to own 17 restaurants and bars in a bunch of states. And every September, I'd go to the property, and the GMs would make a presentation and give me their business plan for the year. And I'd read through the business plan and would say, oh, going to raise sales by 20% in 6 months. Awesome. Tells me breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night, booze, wine. I'm in. Then next year I come back. 20% in 6 months, lunch, breakfast. And I realized, wait a minute. This is the same shit I read last year. Said by the same people who said it last year, and I'm supposed to get on a plane and feel good about this. So what does 20% in 6 months mean? Well, does anything happen next month? What about 2 months from now, 3 months from now? When does something happen? Not till the last day. 5 months and 29 days, I gotta sweat bullets. What the hell does 20% in 6 months mean? How do you get your arms around that? How do you turn it into something that's meaningful in business? So, open your mind and play with me for a moment. What business are you in? What business do you want to be in? Retail, customer service, consumer, B2B? What business are you in? I love it when people say, oh, I'm in retail, I'm in medical devices, I'm in, every one of these is wrong. You see, it doesn't matter what business we're in. We don't sell products, we don't sell services, we don't sell advice, and we don't sell solutions. All of that is textbook bull. Everything we do is a process, never a result. That process must establish an emotional reaction. That reaction is our product. So, let me be a restaurant guy for a minute. The cook in the kitchen is making an entree, right? He thinks that's the product. So the entree comes out to the table, goes on a table, one of two things happens. Either you sit up and look at it and react to it, or nothing happens. If nothing happens, that business is stuck in mediocrity forever. So, is the product a plate of food or the reaction that the guest had to the plate of food? Which is the product? The reaction is the product, isn't it? You see, I'll redesign that plate 30 times until you sit up. Because I understand that the product is the way you react to things. We can all buy cell phones from any company. It's the way we react to the product that matters. It's presentation, it's emotion, it's perceived value, far more than absolute value. The fact of the matter is, everything we do must create reactions. Those reactions drive frequency, drive spend, and fuel the economy of our country. And he or she who creates the best reaction wins.
I was in the Green Party, and I was still working for the BBC as a television presenter, and both were leaving me completely cold. You know, the BBC, it's not a great organisation to work for if you care about the truth and you care about, you know, more than the official version of everything. And I also was looking at the Green Party politics from the inside and seeing that it was just like every other party. And so I was, what do I do with my life now? Because I can't go on with either of these. And what happened was a very strange thing happened, because in the early part of, what would it be, 1989, I started having this feeling that when I was in a room alone, I wasn't alone. And it's like there was an atmosphere there. There's something there. And through 1989, this got more and more and more powerful, to the point where in early 1990, I was working for the BBC, and I was staying at a hotel called the Kensington Hilton, just down from the BBC headquarters. And I'm sitting on the side of the bed, and in this apparently empty room, and there was such a sense of a presence there that I said into the room, you know, if there's something there, would you please contact me, because you'll drive me up the wall. Few days later, I'm on the seafront with my son Gareth, little boy then, in Ryde, where I live on the Isle of Wight, and I go into this newsagent shop where Gaz was looking at one of the books, and I said to him, "Come on, Gaz, we'll go and get some lunch in the town." And as I said it, it was like the atmosphere changed, like the energetic field around me changed. And all I heard, it wasn't a voice, it was a very strong thought form. It said, "Go and look at the books on the far side." And I'm standing there thinking, you know, basically, I start walking across to the books in a daze, thinking, what is happening? And I knew this bookshop. The books it sold were for, you know, the tourists that come to the Isle of Wight. They were basically Mills and Boon and you know, perfectly formed English roses and having relationships with perfectly formed, you know, uniformed soldiers and all this stuff. So I'm thinking, what am I going over here for? But right in the middle of these books was one called Mind to Mind by a woman called Betty Shine. A picture was on the front. It was different to the others, so I picked it up and I turned it over and I read the blurb. And she was a psychic. An English psychic, and she was telling her life story. So I bought the book, read it in 24 hours, found it very interesting, contacted her, because I wanted to go and see if she would pick up what the hell was happening around me for the last year. And so I went. I told her nothing. What I told her was, because she did this hands-on healing as well, which is just an exchange of energy. You know, it's not mumbo jumbo, it's an exchange of energy.
Reiki.
Yes, it's just an exchange of energy, that's all it is. But anyway, I told her that because I said, I've got arthritis, maybe it will help. Because I didn't want to give anything away what was happening to me. So I'm sitting on this bench, this medical type bench in her front room, and, you know, she's chatting away, and she's doing the whole, you know, hands-on healing just next to my left knee. And suddenly, the atmosphere changed again. And I felt like a spider's web on my face. Now, what hit me was, in her book, she said, when other levels of reality are trying to lock into you, you sometimes feel like a spider's web on your face. Well, I know what that was now. It's electromagnetic energy.
But if you listen carefully, you'll hear another voice, the voice of faith, saying God has a way. Favor is coming. Healing is coming. Breakthroughs are coming. One voice will tell you, you've reached your limits. You've gone as far as you can. You don't have what it takes. The other voice, you are well able. You can do all things through Christ. Your best days are still in front of you. Now here's the beauty. You get to choose which voice comes to life. The way you do it is by what you speak. When you verbalize that thought, you're giving it the right to come to pass. If you go around saying, the problem's too big, I'll never get well, you are agreeing with the wrong voice. You've got to get in agreement with God. The other voice may seem louder, but you can override it. You can take away all of its power by choosing the voice of faith. Maybe you're going to a job interview. One voice will tell you, you're not going to get it. You're wasting your time. These people are not going to like you. Another voice will say, you have the favor of God. You're blessed. You're confident. You have what it takes. But if you get up that morning and tell your spouse, I don't think I'm going to get this job. They're not going to like me. I'm not qualified. There's no use even going. You're being trapped by your words. You have to dig your heels in and say, I am not giving life to any more defeat. I am not speaking lack. I'm not speaking sickness. I'm not speaking mediocrity, not enough. I'm going to choose the voice of faith. It says I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm blessed, I'm favored. I am a victor, not a victim. When he faced Goliath, it looked impossible. All the odds were against him. If he would have verbalized his negative thoughts, that would have kept him from his destiny. Even though he was anointed to be king, those negative words would have kept him trapped in the shepherd's fields. He could have easily gone around saying, well, I know I'm supposed to face Goliath, but look at him. He's twice my size. He's got more experience, more equipment, more talent. I don't see how this is ever going to work out. You can talk yourself out of your destiny. Negative words can keep you from becoming who you were created to be. Don't fall into that trap. Quit calling in defeat. Quit talking about how it's not going to happen. You can pray in faith. Ask God to turn it around, to do the impossible. But then walk away and start talking about how you're not going to get well, how your child's never going to straighten up. Those negative words just canceled out that prayer. Well, Joel, I'm having this financial crisis, and I prayed and asked God to help me, but I don't see how it's going to happen. No, zip that up. Father, you said you're Jehovah Jireh, the Lord my provider. Lord, you've done it for me in the past. I know you'll do it for me again in the future.
But while we go for certainty differently, if we get total certainty, we get what? What do you feel if you're certain? You know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. What would you feel? Bored out of your mind. So God, in her infinite wisdom, gave us a second human need, which is uncertainty. We need variety. We need surprise. How many of you here love surprises? You like the surprises you want. The ones you don't want, you call problems, but you need them. So variety is important. Have you ever rented a video or a film that you've already seen? Who's done this? Why are you doing it? You're certain it's good because you read it before, saw it before, but you're hoping it's been long enough you've forgotten enough there's variety. Third human need, critical, significance. We all need to feel important, special, unique. You can get it by making more money. You can do it by being more spiritual. You can do it by getting yourself in a situation where you put more tattoos and earrings in places humans don't want to know. Whatever it takes. The fastest way to do this, if you have no background, no culture, and no belief in resources or resourcefulness, is violence. If I put a gun to your head and I live in the hood, instantly I'm significant. 0 to 10, how high? 10. How certain am I you're going to respond to me? 10. How much uncertainty? Who knows what's going to happen next? Kind of exciting, like climbing up into a cave and doing that stuff all the way down there. Total variety and uncertainty. And it's significant, isn't it? So you're willing to risk your life for it. So that's why violence has always been around and will be around unless we have a consciousness change as a species. Now, you can get significance a million ways, but to be significant, you got to be unique and different. Here's what we really need. Connection and love, fourth need. We all want it. Most people settle for connection because love's too scary. Don't want to get hurt. Who here has ever been hurt in an intimate relationship? And you're going to get hurt again. Aren't you glad you came to this positive visit? But here's what's true. We need it. We can do it through intimacy, through friendship, through prayer, through walking in nature. If nothing else works for you, get a dog. Don't get a cat, get a dog. Because if you leave for 2 minutes, it's like you've been gone for 6 months when you show back up again 5 minutes later, right? Now, these first four needs, every human finds a way to meet. Even if you lie to yourself, even if you have split personalities. But the last two needs, the first four needs are called the needs of the personality, is what I call it. The last two are the needs of the spirit. And this is where fulfillment comes. You won't get fulfillment from the first four. You'll figure a way, smoke, drink, do whatever, meet the first four. But the last two, number 5, you must grow. We all know the answer here. If you don't grow, you what? If a relationship's not growing, if a business is not growing, if you're not growing, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how many friends you have, how many people love you, you feel like hell. And the reason we grow, I believe, is so we have something to give of value. Because the sixth need is to contribute beyond ourselves. Because we all know, corny as it sounds, the secret of living is giving. We all know life's not about me, it's about we. This culture knows that. This room knows that. And it's exciting. When you see Nicholas up here talking about his $100 computer, the most passionate, exciting thing is here's a genius, but he's got a calling now. You can feel the difference in him, and it's beautiful. And that calling can touch other people in my own life.
Goals are major to a genuinely success-oriented person. Without them,
you're just playing around. The difference between a goal-directed individual and someone without goals is like the difference between a Wimbledon champion and a kid batting a tennis ball around on a court with no net, no opponent to bring out the best in him, and no way of keeping score. Despite everything that's been written about the importance of goal setting, very few people actually put it into practice. It's always amazed me the way the average guy puts more thought and effort into planning his 2-week vacation than he devotes to planning his life. What's he taking a vacation from? He hasn't really decided what he's trying to do in life, but for 2 weeks out of the year, he just decides he wants to do something else. And this is what he plans very carefully. Challenge creates strong character, and goals represent challenge in its most positive form. Leaders have their personal goals clearly in focus, as well as the goals of the organization. In fact, one of the principal responsibilities of leadership is defining goals for the vast majority of people who aren't able to do it for themselves. Over the years, I've developed some ideas about effective goal setting, and I'd like to share those with you in a moment. When I was a kid, I used to dream what it would be like to buy a ticket on a railroad train and just go someplace. I really didn't think about where I'd be going or how long it would take to get there. I just loved the idea of getting on the train and just letting it take me someplace. I guess there's still something appealing about that idea, but it's not really the way you want to live your life as a mature human being. When you grow up, you buy a ticket on a train or a plane because you want to go someplace, and you know exactly where you're going. You may have to change planes in a different city, your flight may be canceled, and you may have to switch to another flight. You may not feel like talking to the person seated next to you, but you will persist. You know where you're headed, and you're quite determined to get there. That's goal-directed behavior in its simplest form. There are short-term goals and long-term goals. Sometimes you're flying across the country, other times you're just walking down to the corner grocery store. Long-term goals are the equivalent of a major journey. When you reach the point where you've achieved your long-term goals, your life will be fundamentally changed, and the process of getting to that point will transform you into a stronger, wiser, higher-performing person than you are now. How can you identify your long-term goals? On a sheet of paper or in a notebook, write these 5 headings. Number 1, what do I want to do? Number 2, what do I want to be? Number 3, what do I want to see? Number 4, what do I want to have? And number 5, where do I want to go? Now, under each of these categories, write down several possible long-term goals. Be very relaxed about this. Just allow your mind to flow and come up with 3 to 6 ideas for each category. Don't worry about a lot of details at this point, and don't spend too much time describing a particular goal. In category number 1, for example, what do I want to do? Suppose you want to write a book about the history of your family, going back to the arrival of your great-grandparents in the United States. Just quickly jot down family history. Then as you look down the list of categories, it occurs to you that you've always wanted to see the pyramids in Egypt. So you write pyramids. Keep writing down ideas as long as the list of categories continues to inspire you. You'll probably be surprised at some of the things that turn up. You may have kept a great many desires and aspirations hidden in the back of your mind, but the opportunity to write them down will move them to the forefront of your consciousness. That's one of the benefits of this technique. When you're satisfied with your list of long-term goals, read through the list once again. Then, beside each item, write the number of years that you believe it will take you to achieve that particular goal. it's best to round off the numbers into 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year categories. For example, you may estimate that it will take you 10 years to research and write the book on your family history. But you'll need only 5 years to get yourself into a position where you can take a trip to the pyramids. Create a time frame like this for every one of your long-term goals. Immediate goals, those that will take less than a year to achieve, are important too, of course, and we'll deal with those separately in a moment. When you're finished entering your time frames, there should be a fairly balanced distribution of all your goals. If there are many 1- and 3-year objectives, but only a few in the 10-year category, maybe you need to think more about what you really want your life to add up to. What kind of life you really want to build over the long run. But if there's a preponderance of 10-year goals, and relatively few of the shorter-term variety, this may be an indication that you're putting things off, that you're focused too much on where you'll be at the end of the day and not enough on what you can accomplish right now. Keep working on your list, adding and subtracting goals with various time frames until you've created a more or less even distribution. Now comes the really challenging and interesting part. So far, you've just been adding things to the list, but now it's time to start making some selections. Now you're going to start asking yourself what's really important compared to what might just be sort of fun. Choose 4 goals from each of the 4 time frames, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 year. Now you have 16 separate goals. So far, you've only referred to them in shorthand fashion. But now you're going to start seeing them very, very clearly in your mind's eye. You're going to see each goal just as if it were being realized this very minute. And you're going to write down a detailed description of exactly what you see. Do you intend to open a handmade furniture store in 3 years? What will the store look like from the street out front? Will there be gold leaf lettering on the windows? Or will there be a sign hanging over the door instead? How many square feet will the store contain? Will there be a showroom area for the furniture in front and a workspace in back? Or will the furniture be built at a different location? Do you intend to have any employees, or will you run the business entirely by yourself? Think of all the questions that need to be answered in order to see your goal with absolute clarity. And then write the information down in a notebook or on a piece of paper. That will become one of your most important personal possessions. But that's not all. Any goal is a powerful motivator only if there's a powerful reason behind it. Why do you want to achieve your goals? Why do you want to own a handmade furniture store, or a private airplane, or a newspaper in a small town in Vermont? Why do you want to compete in a triathlon, or visit the Australian outback, or be the first woman in your family to earn a PhD? Write down your reasons for wanting each goal in the same degree of detail that you use to write your descriptions. If you can't find a clear and convincing reason for each of your 16 goals, do some serious re-evaluating. You may have more whims or pipe dreams than real goals, and now is the time to make that discovery. Keep working on your list until you have 16 clearly envisioned, strongly motivating, long-term goals. Review what you've written at times, and keep track of your progress toward these objectives. Above all, persevere. Goal setting is a very important first step, but goal achievement is a continuous, lifelong process. That's what makes it so challenging. That's also why it's so extremely rewarding to finally attain your long-term goals. With regard to immediate goals, those that require anywhere from a day to a year to achieve, I recommend creating lots of objectives that can be accomplished in a month or less. Write them down. Read what you've written at frequent intervals. Keep track of your progress. And do something often. that brings you closer to realizing these very short-term objectives. That way, you'll always have something to celebrate. These goals are not only important in their own right, they're also confidence builders and motivators toward a lifestyle based on perseverance and achievement. And
my relationship with my boss, regardless of who my boss was, regardless if my boss was great or my boss was horrible, my relationship was always the same. I was going to have this great, I was going to build a relationship where they trusted me. They gave me what I needed to do my job, and then they let me do my job. That's the relationship I always had with all my bosses, right? But that same methodology and concept can absolutely be applied to other organizations that you're supposed to work with. So whether it's the Army, whether it's the Marine Corps, whether it's the Iraqi soldiers, whether it's the MPs, whether it's the Intel people, that the Intel organization that you're working with, no matter what the organization, you can build a relationship. Again, might you love that organization? No, you might not. And where I see this all the time, we see it all the time now, is with businesses. Because guess what? There's no business that's standalone, or I should say there's very few that are completely vertically integrated businesses. I mean, like at Origin, right? We're pretty vertically integrated, but guess what? We don't grow the cotton. Like, we don't do that. We don't grow cotton. But guess what? We have a good relationship with the people that grow cotton. We have a good relationship with the people that stain the cotton, dye the cotton. So we build those relationships with those other people. Now, I work with businesses where there's a supplier that they don't like. So guess what? They form a hostile relationship with this whole company, a whole company. What good does that do them? It doesn't do them any good at all. What it means is they have no personal relationships. They form that antagonistic relationship with a whole nother organization, and it's almost impossible to overcome. So now this is something where if you don't explain that culture throughout your team, they're going to treat that other team horribly. And so if you're waiting on supplies, if you're on a construction site and you're waiting for materials to be delivered and you don't have a good relationship with the people that deliver the drywall, and now the drywall's running late for whatever reason, and you fly off the handle or whatever, you're not going to get that drywall any earlier. It's not happening. Have you ever, you know, when I call customer service, right? Customer service. I learned this when I was working for the Admiral, working for the Admiral's Aid. I'd call up, we traveled a lot, and I'd have to call up whatever, Delta or American or whoever, and I'd be trying to get whatever, seats on an aircraft or something, or a flight that was full, whatever, get him an upgrade, whatever. And, you know, I'd say, hey, how you doing? That's always, I'd always start off with the, because they're going, American Airline, how can I help you? And they're mad, right? They're just mad to start with.
How
like,
dare you
out
call
of the
me?
gate, out of the gate, they're mad.
And I've met lots of people who were, well, suicidal because of that, but also unwilling to take care of themselves, you know, because they were so guilty about who they were and their mode of being in the world that they just felt that they weren't worth the damn trouble, you know, and they all had their own particular reasons for believing that, their own failures, their own improper sacrifices, let's say, their own acts of individual malevolence, but they're summed up in a lovely metaphorical manner, a horrifying metaphorical manner in those ancient stories. And those stories explain to us, too, why as well that our consciences don't sit well with us and why we always feel that there's something undone that we should be doing in the world, which is a much better pathway to take, by the way, than to degenerate into nihilism and catastrophe. And that's really rule 2. It's like, well, you should treat yourself like you're someone responsible for helping. And the first question is, well, why don't you? And the answer is, well, there's a lot wrong with you, you know, and it's hard to exercise enough love and care in a deep and non-naive way to care properly for something like that. But you know, you do it for people that you love despite their inadequacies, and there is this idea that there is a spark of divinity within us, and it is possible that the fact that you have that spark of divinity within you also means that you have the capability to withstand that terrible vulnerability That's what I was trying to get at in chapter 1, which was to stand up straight with your shoulders back, that you could actually voluntarily accept the onslaught of the tragedy of being, and that you can constrain the proclivity for malevolence that's part of you and that's part of the world. And in that you can discover your own value, your own intrinsic value, and your own nobility. And all of that might be more powerful than the forces of vulnerability and malevolence themselves.
All of us here have great minds. You know, most of us here have great minds, right? I don't know if I'm in the category, but we all know how to think. And with our minds, we can rationalize anything. We can make anything happen. We can, I agree with what was described a few days ago about this idea that people work in their self-interest. But we all know that you don't work in your self-interest all the time. Because when emotion comes into it, the wiring changes in the way it functions. And so it's wonderful for us to think intellectually about how the life of the world is, and especially those who are very smart. We can play this game in our head, but I really want to know what's driving you. And what I'd like to maybe invite you to do by the end of this talk is explore where you are today for two reasons. One, so that you can contribute more. And two, so that hopefully we can not just understand other people more, but maybe appreciate them more and create the kinds of connections that can stop some of the challenges that we face in our society today. They're only going to get magnified by the very technology that's connecting us, because it's making us intersect. And that intersection doesn't always create the view of everybody now understands everybody and everybody appreciates everybody. So I've had an obsession basically for 30 years. And that obsession has been what makes the difference in the quality of people's lives? What makes a difference in their performance? Because that's what I got hired to do. I got to produce the result now. That's what I've done for 30 years. I get the phone call when the athlete is burning down on national television and they were ahead by 5 strokes and now they can't get back on the course. And I got to do something right now to get the result or nothing matters. I get the phone call when the child is going to commit suicide and I got to do something right now. And in 29 years, I'm very grateful to tell you I've never lost one in 29 years. It doesn't mean I won't someday, but I haven't done it. And the reason is an understanding of these human needs that I want to talk to you about. So when I get those calls about performance, that's one thing, like how do you make a change? But also I'm looking to see what is it that's shaping that person's ability to contribute, to do something beyond themselves. So maybe the real question is, you know, I look at life and say there's 2 master lessons. One is there's the science of achievement, which almost everyone in this room has mastered to an amazing extent. That's how do you take the invisible and make it visible, right? How do you take what you dream about and make it happen? Whether it be your business, your contribution to society, money, whatever it is for you, your body, your family. But the other lesson of life that is rarely mastered is the art of fulfillment. Because science is easy, right? We know the rules, you write the code, you follow those, and you get the result. Once you know the game, you just, you up the ante, don't you? But when it comes to fulfillment, that's an art. And the reason is it's about appreciation and it's about contribution. You can only feel so much by yourself. So I've had an interesting laboratory to try to answer the question of the real question, which is what's the difference in somebody's life if you look at somebody like those people that you've given everything to, like all the resources they say they need. You gave them not a $100 computer, you gave them the best computer. You gave them love, you gave them joy, you were there to comfort them. And those people very often, and you know some of them I'm sure, end up the rest of their life with all this love, education, money, and background, spending their life going in and out of rehab. And then you meet people that have been through ultimate pain, psychologically, sexually, spiritually, emotionally abused, and not always, but often they become some of the people that contribute the most to society. So the question we got to ask ourselves really is, what is it? What is it that shapes us? And we live in a therapy culture. Most of us don't do that, but the culture is a therapy culture. And what I mean by that is the mindset that we are our past. And everybody in this room, you wouldn't be in this room if you bought that theory, but most of society thinks biography is destiny. The past equals the future. And of course it does if you live there. But what people in this room know, and what we have to remind ourselves though, because you can know something intellectually, you can know what to do and then not use it, not apply it. So really what we got to remind ourselves is decision is the ultimate power. That's what it really is. Now, when you ask people, have you failed to achieve something? How many have ever failed to achieve something significant in your life? Say, I. But if you ask people, why didn't you achieve something? Somebody who's working for you, or a partner, or even yourself. When you fail to achieve a goal, what's the reason people say they failed to achieve? What do they tell you?
What makes you think you're gonna make it in life? Man, you gotta stop selling this stuff to this guy, man. Stop it. It's getting old. Go get that job that you let go of paying you $12 an hour and part-time get a degree. Stop taking these damn risks. We're not meant to do something big with our lives. Simple as that.
Pat, I want you to know this voice is never going away. This voice is always going to be there. No matter how much money you're going to make, it's always going to be there. The great thing about it is, though, every morning you wake up, you have a choice on which voice to listen to. But I want you to think about a completely different thing right now. Let's just say you do nothing. Let's just say you buy into your fears. Let's just say you buy into every single thing you're worried about. Let's just say you don't make any decisions to go after your dreams. Fast forward 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. Let's just say your funeral's around the corner. You have 50 people there, 100 people, maybe 200 people show up. It's your friends, family, and people that love you. So if you're loved for one generation, remembered for 2 generations, and forgotten after that. Is that truly the life you want to live? Is that really what you want to do? I don't know if that's the life you really want to live. You see, what I've noticed is, no matter what you ever do, you'll have a lot of lonely times. You can lie to your family, you can lie to your friends, you can fool the world into realizing that why you didn't win was because of some challenge that you had to face. But there's one person you can never lie to, and that is the man in the mirror. You can never lie to the man in the mirror. Never. For the rest of your life, the man in the mirror is going to look back at you and say, you did not choose to go after your dreams. And you have to be okay with that. Now, what I would like to encourage you to do is to make the right choice. I encourage you to face your fears and pursue your dreams. Go pursue the dreams that matter the most to you. You only got one shot at this thing here. And if it works out, man, it's going to feel so good for you. And if it doesn't, at least you have the courage to make that decision. I hope you make the right choice.
Sometimes defeat is the best beginning. Why? Well, for one, if you're at the very bottom, there's only one way to go: up. But more importantly, if you're flat on your back mentally and financially, you'll usually become sufficiently disgusted to reach way down deep inside yourself and pull out miracles. Pull out talents and pull out abilities and pull out desires and determination. When you're flat broke or flat miserable, you'll eventually become so disgusted that you'll pull out the basic essentials required to make everything better. And it's in the face of adversity that things begin to change, that you begin to change. With enough disgust, desire, and determination to change your life, you'll start saying, I've had it. Enough of this, no more, never again. Here's where the miracle begins. I've had it. Enough, no more, never again. These words and these thoughts really rattle the power of time and fate and circumstances. And these three things, time and fate and circumstances, all get together and say, we can see that we have no power here. We're facing some major resolve. This guy's not going to give up. He's had it. He's done with all this nonsense. We better step aside and let this guy get by. Resolve. Inspiration through disgust. But a lot of people don't change themselves. They wait for change. Circumstances to change, the government to change, life to change. What'll that do? Not much. These poor unfortunate folks accept their defeats and wallow in their self-pity. Why? Because they refuse to take control of the situation. They refuse to take control of their life, their career, their health, their relationships, their finances. They refuse to take control and take responsibility and get sufficiently disgusted to change it.
I talked about decisions in the beginning. We talked about expectations. I'm about to wrap this thing up. Listen to me. You can't make a difference until you make a decision. You better hear what I'm telling you, man. I'm talking about the secret to success. I'm always telling you how I went from one spot to the next spot. And that was it right there. Listen to me. Catch the first principle. You got to hear it. You can't make a difference until you make a decision. So, for real, some of you, man, you keep crying. You complaining about your job. You complaining about where you are financially. You complaining about your relationship. You complaining about your opportunities. You complaining. Listen to me. You murmuring and complaining. You complaining. Shut up. Stop complaining and do me a favor. If you want to make a difference, all you got to do is one thing. This is how you get started. You want something different? Listen to me. All you got to do is make a decision. That's it. And for those of you who've been making the wrong decision, all you got to do is make the right decision. But if you want to make a difference, make a decision. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? What I'm trying to do for you to take you to that next level is I'm trying to give you control of your life back. Some of you ain't got control. You talking about your job. You got control. Listen to me. Some of you talk about your economics like you ain't got no control. You got a control. I want you to know that your life right now is the sum total of your decisions. Not your mama's decision, not your daddy. Listen to me. Even if you made their decision, you decided to make their decisions. So I need you to do me a favor. I need you from this day forward for the rest of your life, make a decision.
I'm addicted to living my life. I'm addicted to just being happy as much as I possibly can. I'm addicted to helping people. I'm addicted to believing in myself when others did not. I'm addicted to understanding that sometimes when you feel that you are in a position that you can't go on, you got to have enough addiction in yourself to believe in yourself to push forward. Now, addiction comes in many different shapes and sizes. And there are a lot of people out here that are going to judge people who are addicted to things that we all know in most cases may not be helping them. But who am I or who are you to judge them? There are many people in the world right now that are suffering from many different things that you and I would never understand. But we're not here to judge, we're here to encourage. I'm here to let you know if you are suffering from something right now and it's hurting you and it's putting you down and putting you in a position where you feel that you can't go on, don't let this addiction destroy your purpose in this world. Be addicted about being powerful. Be addicted about being passionate. Be addicted about being passionate about what you believe in. Be addicted in doing the things that are going to make you better as a human being. No one said it was going to be easy. So if you're going to get addicted on being better. Find the right reasons, find the right purpose, find the right path and go towards it. Because every day, as long as you're waking up out of that bed and that sun is shining on your face, it gives you an opportunity to be unique. It gives you an opportunity to feel good about life. Be grateful. Be happy. But if you're going to be addicted of getting yourself out of that situation. Be addicted on trying to do something better with your life. Preserve your life. Reserve your life because it's yours. Yeah, there are people out there that don't want to hear a message like this. There are people out here that don't want to hear this type of truth. I'm not here to commercialize it. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to be okay, because sometimes it just won't be okay. Sometimes you just got to struggle just a little bit and go through the circumstances that you're going through. But that doesn't mean that you got to go through it and stay in a position that is hurting you and not making you better.